Alright, I promised I'd teach you Hold Me In Your Arms in standard tuning for that gig where you've got to slip it in amongst your set. You don't happen to have an extra open D-tuned guitar on hand. If you want to check out the clip where I teach you how it's actually played in open D tuning, or Vestipole tuning as I've come to learn it's been called, go over here and check it out. Otherwise, let's get straight into it. Standard tuned guitar. It's in D, so we start with a D chord. So I've got a standard D chord and I'm taking my second finger off. That's our first two chords. So we've got the standard D shape and then I'm going 2, 3, 5 to get that top melody note. Our next chord is a G add 9, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just playing the G note on the 3rd fret of the top string there and an A note with my first finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. But then adding my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string to get that extra melody note in there before removing it again. Then we repeat that. Now we've got that cool little A7 lick that comes next. Now there is a way to do this in standard tuning. It's not very easy. So what I'm doing there is starting with the open A string, 5th fret on the D string, 4th to 6th hammer on, hammering with my pinky because I'm going to need my 3rd finger in a moment. Stretching back to the D note, the 3rd fret on the B string here, then back to the 6th fret, then putting my 3rd finger down on the A note on the 5th fret of the 1st string and strumming those strings. That's one way to do it. A slightly easier way would be to play the first 3 notes as open strings. A, G, B, then just doing those last 3 notes. That's a bit easier. So then the verse begins and we're going to hold this G chord shape, G add 9, which is 3rd, nothing on the A string, open D, 2nd fret on the G string and 3rd fret on the B string. And we can alternate our picking pattern between having this note on top or this note on top, which is what Phil Buckle did on the original. Now you'll notice I'm playing 2 D strings there, because if we were in open D tuning, we'd be holding this note here and playing both those strings separately. So it just adds a little touch of authenticity to the tune to play it that way. So really slowly. So it does that for a couple of bars, and then we go to what would be a full open D chord, but the nicest way I can find to play it in standard tuning is this D shape here, which is basically like a C chord moved up 2 frets. So on the middle 4 strings, 5, 4, 2, 3. And what I'm going to do is alternate taking these 2 fingers off and putting them back on. So that sounds kind of close. Then we go back to the G, add 9 again. Now we're going to go to an E minor 11. So you can use a standard E minor in this if you want. It sounds a bit closer if you add this note, the A note, the 2nd fret. But we can actually get it really close if we play this shape. A little bit awkward, so it's up to you if you want to include this one, but I really like the sound of it. So what I've got here is open E, 2, 5, 2, 3. That sounds really close. And then for our A7 or A11 chord, probably the best choice would be just these 2 notes. So open A, 2nd fret on the D string, open G, 3rd fret on the B string. So then the song repeats the same pattern, the G to the D, back to the G, back to the E minor 11 again. Then we've got an A7 based on that same shape from the intro, but this time we don't have to do the hammer on, so we can just try and grab that chord. So that's just. Now we're into the chorus. So for the chorus, we want to play the same D as the start, but I would recommend playing it by barring your first finger across the bottom 3 strings and adding your second here, because our second chord, we're going to need these other fingers, and it's easier if these two are already in position. That's a hard one. So for that second chord, it's a D over C sharp, and what I've got there is 4, open D, 2, 3, 5. Then our next chord, thankfully, is an easier shape. It's a G over B, and I'm only holding one finger on the B note there, so on the A string, 2nd fret, then open, open, open. And then I add the 2 and 3 on the G and B strings. It does that again. Then we've got the E minor 11 again, and the A11 again. Back to our G chord, and our D. And you can do your little harmonics there at the 7th fret on the D, G and B strings, because that makes a D chord. Okay, so that's the verses and the chorus. Then we've just got that little bridge that occurs later in the song. So this starts on a B minor 7, a standard B minor 7 shape, but the picking I would recommend is, to give you a closer look, so I'm starting with the B and the D notes there, and then a double pick on the F sharp, then the A. Then the E minor 11 again, the A11 again, then it repeats that, so the B minor 7 again, E minor 11, the A11 again, and then we've got the C9, which we're going to play as 3, 5, 3, 3. Does a couple of choruses, hangs on a G add 9, slowing down, and then the song finishes on a lovely D chord with harmonics at the end, which you can play however you like. Yeah. Now look, I'll add one thing. I've tried to keep it really simple. The trickiest chord there to grab, I find, is that E minor 11. That can be a little bit taxing. So remember, you can always play it as just an E minor with an A note in there, like an E minor sus. Or like that, so an E minor sus with a D. It sounds like 99% the same, and it's a hell of a lot easier, but I just really like the closeness of the G and the A there. But one thing I'll add is that if you want to take it up just a notch more, drop D. Because the song's in D, and it's quick to just drop your E string down to D for a song in the middle of a set. So for the intro, for instance, sounds lovely, just a bit of extra fullness in there. And then, of course, to do the G chord, you've got to move your bass note up to here. But otherwise, you know, stay in standard tuning, and I'm sure your vocalist or your vocals will carry the tune anyway. Go over to soundslice.com if you want to see the tabs, and like and comment and make some requests. Thanks, everyone.